Today I saw a post on Reddit. I really wanted to answer it via video because a lot of people are in a similar situation, and this user seems to have phrased his questions really well and really put a lot of thought into what he wants to do with his or her life. Let's start with it. So we have a person in his early 30s or her, living in Spain, software engineer, fortunate for having such a good salary in Spain and so on. Income is about 5,000 net, rent 1,200 per month, emergency fund is 5,000 and savings is 12.5k. Now, the emergency fund should be a bit bigger than that. I see some people saying, and this is not my topic of expertise, but ideally you should have 6 to 12 months of emergency funds available. Of course, the savings that you have, depending on how exactly they're being kept, that could count as an emergency fund as well. The investments you have already are 18.5k through your bank in the Netherlands. Now, the thing I would mention here is check what exactly the investment is in and what sort of fees you are paying, because recently I had a friend that I looked into what his bank is investing in, and he's being charged as well about 5 or 6% per annum in different kinds of fees. And it was a very conservative investment, so it wasn't really doing him any good. So you're able to save to around 2.5k per month, which is very good. That's about 50% of your salary, and that's primarily because you travel fairly often and enjoy going out for food. Lovely. You could save more, but you want to enjoy your life. Why not? You should do that. You have earned it. My main question is what to do with the money over the next few years, considering buying an apartment in 2 or 3 years. So you're wondering whether you should invest or keep funds available for future down payment. That is a very smart way of thinking. Usual advice is like S&P, and that's a good starting point. And if you were to invest in the S&P, you don't need to follow the market, you don't need to care about what happens, because if the market goes down, every time you invest monthly or quarterly, whatever you want to do, then you would buy more of the equities. Not looking to do anything crazy or gamble with the money. That's a very good point. You shouldn't gamble with your money. So you don't want to leave a huge amount sitting in cash for years. Of course, nobody wants to do that. So how much of the 12.5k savings would you invest? How much would you continue investing each month? Would you invest at all if you knew you might need the cash in 2 or 3 years? That's a very smart question, and that's the one I'm going to start with. And the next one is, what would you actually invest in? What broker platform to use as a Spanish resident? You mentioned Trade Republic, DeGiro. I'm not very aware of them, but if they're regulated brokers, then why not? I use IBKR. It's a global platform. It's one of the biggest, I believe, in the world, so that's why I chose it. But yeah, the main question here is, and the one that I will talk about more is, would you invest at all if you knew that you might need the money in 2 or 3 years? So the thing is, if you need the money in 2 or 3 years and you invest now the 12.5k, and the market goes down, then and you continue investing, let's say 1k per month. So in a year the market goes down, we have a recession, whatever the case is, and you want to buy an apartment. Well, then the S&P under the equities as well will be down 15%, 12, 20, 30, nobody knows, depending on the situation. That's not the time that you want to take out money. And the reason is simple. If you have 10,000 in the S&P and it goes down by 20%, and you need 10,000 euros, you don't have 10,000 euros. You have 8,000 now. So you will take out the same amount, 20% less. So you don't want to sell when things are going down. So that's the first thing, and that's very important. I would see how much a prepayment is and keep that in a yield savings account, something such as bonds. I think there are a few ETFs such as XEON, which tracks 2 or 3 year euro bonds, and that will give you a 2 or 3% interest rate per year, which is not a lot, but the moment you need the money, it's yours to use. On the other hand, it's very important to remember as well, if we were to hit a recession, then then the housing prices would go down. So the apartment that you're looking at, and I don't know the prices in Spain, but if it's 200k now, it might be 170k. You never know. So you would like to have that money for a down payment as well. So I would keep 20, 30k possibly as a down payment in a savings account where you get 2 or 3% return. So because that would really set you up. Your main goal we can see here is that you want to buy an apartment. So that's the main goal you want to achieve, and this is one way of doing so. Now, from the 12.5k savings, what would you invest? Again, that's connected to the third one. I would keep that amount cash in bonds, not physically cash or in just your bank account. How much would you continue investing each month? Once you've saved enough for the prepayment of your dream home, I would invest whatever amount you have left from your salary after you've had your fun times, food and travels, of course. You could also add some percentage of whatever your funds are left at the end of the month to your emergency fund. But again, if you keep it to 6 or 12 months, then that would be fine. So I invest just about everything that I have left over. But then again, I'm not single, and I don't know from your post whether you're a single person or not. So it depends really. The next one is, what would you actually invest in? There are a lot of good comments here on this topic, by the way. People suggesting All World and S&P and Nasdaq and so on. You should be the person to decide what to invest in, because there are a lot of different comments, and how can you gauge which one is right? My opinion is not the best. Nobody's opinion is the best. It depends on what you want. So ask yourself, why invest in funds that exclude the USA? What do I gain from there? Why invest in Euro funds rather than S&P 500? Why invest in the S&P rather than something else? What companies have driven the best performance in the market for the last 10 years, let's say? Which companies generate the most amount of cash? Where are they located? What sort of structural moat do they have over other companies? So, for example, I invest just about everything in USA and some in Taiwan. And the reason for that is simple. The USA has, and I invest in specific companies, but investing in Nasdaq or S&P is a lovely way to go forward, because they have some of the companies that are actually monopolies. We can see that our government in Europe is regulating them constantly, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not in a good way. But the reason for that is simple. They have too much power. And even though it's not good for us as consumers, it's very good for us as investors. So I invest in those companies that make a lot of return. They have strong cash flow and good net profit margins, as well as revenue growth. Before I close this out, I've really been speaking for more time than I wanted. You are in a very good situation. Congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully in a few years you will have your dream home. And take care and keep safe.